Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, please rise for the presentation of the colors by the MIT Police Honor Guard and remain standing to join members of the MIT Chamber Chorus and Concert Choir in singing the national anthem.
Please be seated. Good afternoon, and welcome to the dedication of the memorial of MIT police officer Sean Collier, Batch 179. I am Israel Ruiz, Executive Vice President and Treasurer at MIT. It is our honor to be joined today by the Collier and Rogers family, Attorney General Maura Healey, U.S. Attorney Carmen Ortiz, Middlesex District Attorney Marianne Ryan, and many friends from the city of Cambridge, including Mayor David Marr, City Manager Rich Rossi, and Cambridge Police Commissioner Bob Haas, who have been by our side every step along the way. It is also a privilege to have with us City Councilors Leland Chung, Craig Kelly, Nadim Mazen, Mark McGovern, and Tim Toomey. I would also like to welcome Massachusetts State Colonel Timothy Alban and all members of law enforcement agencies joining us in support and friendship. To the members of the MIT community, we have stood strong in the 2 years since we lost Officer Collier on that tragic night in 2013. Today, we gather to remember Officer Collier and to thank the Collier Memorial Project Team and the Memorial Committee co-chaired by Chief of Police John DeFava and MIT Provost Marty Schmidt, all of whom persevered through the winter with vision, commitment, and tireless effort to bring us to this day. You will find a list of contributors in your program, but please allow me to thank a few individuals. The MIT community is enormously grateful to Professor Mi-Jin Yoon, head of MIT's Department of Architecture, for her immense creativity, sensitivity, and leadership, and to the whole design team at Howler and Yoon. To Professor John Oxendorf and his engineering colleagues, we express awe and gratitude for the artfully precise work that allowed design to become reality. I would also like to thank Suffolk Construction and the whole team of dedicated professionals who surmounted extraordinary challenges of weather and logistics preceding this day, with particular appreciation to Rob Rogers, who is both project manager and Sean's brother. Rob, we're proud to have worked with you. And finally, to the MIT project team, led by Dick Amster, Paul Murphy, and Jennifer Combs, thank you. Your personal commitment has made it possible to open the memorial to our community today. The permanent memorial is intended to be a place of remembrance and reflection, a place that evokes the strength of Collier Strong, a place that reflects the connectedness of our community and epitomizes the highest expression of our MIT motto, mens et manus, mind and hand. I know that the memorial, with its powerful design, with what it represents, and in all that it signifies, will provide a place where we can go to celebrate Officer Collier's life, to share his sense of community, to feel a sense of protection, a place where an open hand reminds us that we are a community that stays true to its highest values and reaches out to those in need, as Officer Collier did, even in the face of the ultimate threat. The Collier Memorial and the people who made it possible represent the best embodiment and tribute to Officer Collier's life and make MIT very proud. It is now my pleasure to introduce MIT President Rafael Reif.
Thank you, Israel. Since we lost Officer Collier 2 years ago, you have played, Israel, a central role in guiding our community's response. Most recently, together with your team, you oversaw the creation of this superb memorial. And I want to express my deep gratitude for your inspired leadership, Israel. Good morning. Officer Collier's family, Mayor Marr, and our distinguished guests, Professor Yoon, Professor Oxendorf, and the entire memorial team, Chief DeFava, and Sean's countless friends and admirers in and out of uniform. We come together at the end of a long winter. But today, in the warmth of each other's company and through the bright memory of Sean's example, I believe we may have found spring at last. This morning, I want to make two observations about the memorial itself and what it expresses about our community. In a moment, the designer of the monument, Professor Mi-Jin Yoon, will describe how it was made. In her story, we will hear a deep MIT impulse, the instinct to do it yourself. This memorial was imagined, designed, and engineered by a brilliant team of MIT faculty, students, and staff. They were moved to be part of the process and were personally invested in the outcome. And in leading the team from Suffolk Construction, Sean's brother Rob made everyone feel like family. This was not a project produced at the request of a patron. Instead, it was an offering intended for all of us, an exploration of themes and forms, emotions and memories, materials and forces, a creative experiment performed by our community for our community. It was not an artistic transaction, but an act of transformation. MIT is known for science and technology, discovery and innovation, boldness and daring. Today, through this memorial, we demonstrate all those strengths, and we remind ourselves of our capacity for reverence and beauty, too. We're a community of makers, and we use that power to make things new. A second observation. As we will hear, the stone arches of the memorial are held together not with mortar, nor with fasteners, but with our sheer faith in the power of physics. Those are forces that we understand very well at MIT, in most times and places. These forces are invisible, but this memorial reveals them to the world by displaying their power in action. 2 years ago, as we first mourned Officer Collier, the members of our community came together with incredible strength, more than we had understood was possible. We came together in deep sympathy for Sean's family, in respect and gratitude for our police and first responders, and in empathy for everyone who had endured the broader trauma of the marathon bombings. We saw courage, connection, generosity, kindness, endurance, qualities always there, but not usually revealed, until we all understood what it meant to be Collier strong. In effect, we saw then that we are held together by invisible forces too. The tragedy of Sean's loss made those forces visible and made them stronger. Beginning today, this memorial will be a landmark in our daily lives, a new gateway to the campus we share. And I hope that in its graceful display of invisible physical forces, it can become a daily reminder of those invisible human forces that create community. I hope it can serve as a gateway to the knowledge of what extraordinary things we can achieve if we can see and feel and draw on that power together without calamity to confront other challenges for each other, for our community, our city, our nation, our world. We dedicate this memorial to a young man who, by the joyful way he lived, showed us what it means to be one MIT and one community. Today, inspired by his example, may we find that the power to endure together has become the power to heal, to gather our forces, and to begin to grow again. Now, for our perspective from our extended community, it is now my pleasure to introduce our good friend and neighbor, the Mayor of the City of Cambridge, David Marr.
President Reif, Vice President Ruiz, Chief DeFava, members of the Collier family, and members of the MIT community, good afternoon. It's an honor for me to be here with all of you today. On behalf of my colleagues in local government and the residents of the great city of Cambridge, I stand before you today to offer our continued heartfelt thoughts and prayers to Sean's family, to the members of the MIT Police Department, to the larger MIT community, and to all of Officer Collier's colleagues in law enforcement, including the fine men and women of the Cambridge Police Department and the Cambridge Fire Department who are with us today. A year ago, I had the honor of joining many of you at a remembrance marking the one-year anniversary of Officer Collier's tragic passing. It is hard to believe that another year has passed. Today, we join together, the MIT community, the Cambridge community, and the larger Greater Boston community to honor the memory of Officer Sean Collier. In the days and weeks after Officer Collier's death, our communities displayed exceptional collaboration and cooperation, supporting each other and helping each other through what was an extraordinarily difficult and dark period. Today, those bonds are stronger than ever. As we dedicate this memorial, I am deeply moved and impressed by the work of MIT's Department of Architecture, the Collier Memorial Committee, and the design and construction teams. This dedicated group of individuals committed themselves to honoring and remembering Officer Collier's life and his lasting legacy. The Memorial Committee, the architects, and the MIT community have found a permanent and fitting way to capture what is commonly referred to as Collier Strong in this beautiful memorial, emphasizing strength and unity. The dedication of this memorial ensures that Officer Collier's memory will never be forgotten. This memorial will serve as a symbol of strength, courage, service, and dedication, all qualities that Sean embodied both as a police officer and, more importantly, as a human being. The design of the memorial symbolizes how we are united as one community. The walls seemingly reach out beyond the MIT campus to the Cambridge community as one. The memorial serves as a permanent way to remember Officer Collier, a tribute to a life of service, dedication, and sacrifice. The sheer size and imposing design of the memorial will ensure that all who pass by this site, whether it is this week or days from now or years or decades from now, will know that who Officer Collier was and the spirit that he embodied. While we will never forget the tragic events of 2 years ago, this memorial serves as a reminder of good, a reminder of an extraordinary young man who was full of life and love and committed to serving others. In closing, I just want to thank the MIT community and the Collier family, and I want you all to know that the City of Cambridge and our residents continue to stand with you and continue to be inspired by your strength and your grace. Thank you.
Here we are, a convergence of seekers, servers, speakers, makers. Alone, we carry individual flames. Together, we become a radiant constellation, honoring Sean Collier.
For many of us, Sean was a source of light, a source of warmth.
He talked to us, hiked with us, danced with us. He was always among us. He still is. Take a look around.
We come also to honor the recently lost, fellow students and friends, for every loss leaves a void.
Let our private sorrows become as public as air, as functional as granite.
The world tells us we are finite, but our infinite inclinations will touch mountaintops, ocean floors, the edge of this world, and the horizons of human experience.
Here, we are not alone. Here, we learn to hack our way into each other's hearts.
Together, we step out of the shadows, each of our lives its own light source, elevating every life we touch.
2 years ago, we were sheltering in place. Today, we celebrate a place of shelter. Take a look around. Open heart, open mind, open hand.
President Reif, members of the Collier-Rogers family, honored guests, members of the MIT community, family and friends, good afternoon. We have spoken a million words and have cried a river of tears, for it is our only means to remember Sean's sacrifice and to honor his memory. But there is another reason why we express such deep and heartfelt emotion. It is a subconscious attempt to reach out and to find the comfort and support we need to deal with a situation that is impossible to understand, never mind accept. Immediately after the shelter-in-place order was lifted by the governor on Friday, April 19th, this location became an impromptu memorial. People from within and outside the Institute were drawn to the site of Sean's death to try and make sense of a tragedy that made no sense. Stuffed animals of every variety, flowers and candles, religious cards and letters, poems and pictures, as well as the occasional baseball cap, are just some examples of the personalized attempts of so very many people who try to manifest their feelings in tangible form while asking the same question, why? As the weeks and months went by, this temporary site of remembrance took on a more permanent form. In fact, it became woven into the very fabric of the daily life of MIT. Indeed, it soon became crucial to the emotional well-being of the members of this community. At all hours of the day and night, people were drawn to the sacred ground, in groups or alone, holding hands or standing off to the side, speaking quietly or deep in thought, with eyes downcast or looking towards a place known only to them. They came, all engaged in different personal activities, but one common thought: to remember. Many knew Sean, but most did not, for they came out of respect, to pray and to find comfort in the presence of others. It was all we had, and it served us well, for it provided a sense of stability in those sad and uncertain times. But now we have more, so very much more, something beyond all our expectations. However, we must understand that this wonderful memorial we dedicate today is not meant to replace what was spontaneously created by the love of the community, but rather is a continuation of that love in permanent form. My father was born in a city in Italy called Formia. It's located 87 miles south of Rome. Although small in size, it is large in history as it predates the Eternal City by over 2 centuries. I remember vividly the first time I visited there with my dad. It was in July of 1963, and as we entered the outskirts of the town in a rented Fiat 500 trailing a cloud of blue smoke, my eyes were immediately drawn to an elegant structure backlit by the late morning sun. I was struck by its simple and understated majesty, its sense of power and unspoken purpose, and above all, the strength and permanence that this obviously ancient structure radiated. With my eyes still focused on this object of wonder, I asked my father what it was. With obvious pride, he responded, "That is a memorial built by the Romans to honor Cicero. To us Formian, he was a great man." Through the years, I visited that site often, and I never forgot the words of my dad. There is no doubt that the Romans rank among the world's greatest engineers, architects, and builders. In fact, many of their memorials remain with us today, and those that don't did not fall by the hands of nature, but rather by the hands of man, a true testament to a culture. However, we have something the Romans did not have, for we have a Mi Jin-yoon, a John Oxendorf, and above all, we have an MIT. In classic MIT style, Mi-jin and John, assisted by an expert team of true professionals, have created a masterpiece that is worthy in every way to honor and preserve the memory of Sean. Its unspoken sense of purpose, its character, and one-of-a-kind uniqueness represents well the essence of who Sean was and what he stood for. Mi-jin and John, you have surpassed anything any of us could have expected, and we are grateful to you. However, unknowingly, you have succeeded in giving us even more. For with the creation of this beautiful memorial, you have given us the strength and courage to continue the healing process and pass from sorrow and sadness to hope and optimism until live our lives in the manner that Sean did every day. We will cry less and smile more, but we will always remember. Sarah Ferry, a graduate student here at MIT, and a friend of Sean's and now a friend of mine, said to me several weeks ago at the memorial site, "I am not sad anymore when I come here. This makes me happy." These words truly represent the significance and the meaning of this memorial. I have no doubt that in the years to follow, when we are all long gone, our father will look at this beautiful structure and wonder and say, "This memorial was built by MIT to honor Sean Collier. To MIT, he was a great man." It is now my pleasure to introduce the design architect of this extraordinary memorial, head of MIT's Department of Agriculture, Professor Mi Jin-yoon.
The design of the permanent memorial for Officer Sean Collier has been a deeply emotional and humbling experience. The Collier Memorial is many things at once: a symbol, a structure, a space. As a symbol, it represents Sean's service and sacrifice: a 5-pointed figure, a star, an open hand. As a structure, it translates Collier Strong into a literal structure of strength through unity, with 32 unique, solid granite blocks working together to support each other to create an impossibly flat 5-way vault. As a space, a central void, a place of pause, an open yet sheltered outdoor room to remember and reflect. It is a solid and a void, heavy and light, simple and complex, a gateway and a window, a rock garden and a mirror of the night sky. And while I hope it becomes many things to many people, the one thing that cuts across all these metaphors and representations is that it is truly MIT. in every way, in its approach, in its process, in its application, in its values, and in its aspirations. The memorial project brought together across campus over 100 people and their talents, expertise, skills, and care together to shape, form, and build this special place of remembrance for Sean. From the Collier Committee, composed of police officers, students, staff, and faculty, to the MIT management team, to the design, engineering, construction teams, to my colleague, John Oxendorf, to the undergraduates, master's, and PhD students across 8 degree programs at MIT. I have never experienced such an incredible team, the level of respect, dedication, and care that went above and beyond. The project stretched all of us, and yet brought out the best in everyone. And how could it not? With Sean's own brother, Rob, on the site daily at the crack of dawn, through blizzard after blizzard, devoted and resolved to build, block by block, the memorial for today's commemoration. It must have been incredibly hard to work every day so close to the site where Sean was killed. But Rob always had a quiet strength, a kind spirit, and contagious smile. And while no physical structure could ever truly represent the fullness of Sean's life and the meaning of his loss, for those of us who had an opportunity to learn about Sean through Rob and John, Cheryl, Kevin, Chris, Sarah, and Sally, I can only say it was truly an honor. The memorial was in many ways a race against time to build a timeless structure, conceptually rich, formally precise, and technically unprecedented. A few weeks ago, on a tense and cold day, 30 students and masons, architects, and engineers were crawling on top of, underneath, and around the memorial, frantically checking gauges, scales, lasers, and laptops as everyone readied to lower the scaffold. It was the moment of truth. As the masons, in synchrony, turned the dials at the top of the scaffold and lowered the weight of the great keystone and compression rings of the vault, millimeter by millimeter, over 8 hours. I remember as the structure and the forces moved into the legs, and everyone cheered. I remember feeling a sense of relief, but also a moment of profound realization that the memorial had not been built really with big granite blocks, but had in fact really been built with big hearts and all love.
Live on like he would. Big smiles, big heart, big service, all love. Officer Sean Collier. We love you.
The Institute convened a committee to think about a memorial for Sean Collier. The figure of the memorial is a kind of 5-walled structure is extruded, and then a void is actually carved out of it. And that void represents a kind of absence or a loss. The form itself is based on the hand, representing both a kind of gesture of openness to others, but also the ability to apply oneself to make things better.
We wanted the stone to be representative of the places where Sean spent a lot of time with like the MIT community. He was very active with the MIT Outing Club. So, we started thinking about Granite, New Hampshire.
The memorial is made of 32 blocks, which piece together in a way that allows each block to hold the other one up.
I'll go around and get the other two.
So its strength comes from unity. Its strength comes from the many, as opposed to a kind of singular gesture.
So here it's 90.5, and here it's 91.5.
People don't build anymore this way. So it's an experiment in using really sort of old-fashioned techniques of stone masonry, sort of pre-modern almost, if you will, but using high-end computers to sort of determine the shape and the layout of the stones.
I'm saying 116.
So we're saying this is A1.
Okay.
It's great. Fits perfectly. The 5 walls actually extend out from the center void, and as they extend out, they frame very specific views. The 2 walls that are closest together align with the location of Sean's cruiser where he was shot. It's the most intimate space in the memorial. When you're under, it frames exactly that spot where the tragedy occurred.
What we really have are 5 half arches, which are each leaning in toward the middle. And while that half arch should fall over, there's another half arch somewhere else leaning in, and another half arch and another half arch. So each of these are coming together and balancing perfectly in the middle. So the arch is exerting an outward force, and the walls, the 5 radiating walls, are buttressing the central part of a very flat vault. As those arches push outward on the walls want to spread apart. And so buried underground, there's a tension tie, which is pulling back toward the center and which is pulling the whole memorial together so it's in equilibrium. Below ground, there's a grade beam, which is poured in concrete, and it's reinforced concrete, so there's steel embedded within the concrete, which carries the tensile forces to ensure that the walls will not move outward over the centuries.
The outside of this sculpture is all going to be a flamed finish. This is a very fine-grained, very dense granite and leaves still a fairly flat but a more natural textured surface.
Each stone is cut with advanced milling technology. Some of the stones are cut by robots, and the accuracy of each stone is within about 1 millimeter.
Even as the robot is carving the blocks, someone has to come in and tap every single piece and break it off kind of one by one before then the robot can come in for its final pass. It was a kind of incredible dance between like machine and man to carve these pieces.
It's like a 3-dimensional jigsaw puzzle with finely polished blocks of granite, but in this case they weigh about 10,000 pounds each.
My name's Rob Rogers. I'm a project manager with Suffolk Construction. I'm also Sean Collier's brother. There's a sequence on how we're going to lower the stones. So in theory, the stone should lock in place.
when the first blocks arrive and start to take physical form. As an architect, that's a magical moment when a concept turns into physical reality.
There were many times in this whole project where we had to keep our emotions in check because it was such an emotional project for everyone involved.
It's been very humbling and healing, in the past almost 2 years since Sean was gone, so it's really helped a lot.
We started with the keystone, and we had to build a temporary scaffold under that keystone. Then the ring stones that surround the keystone came in next, and we sequentially went through each of the 5 legs. This has probably been the hardest season to build in.
Well, we have 109 inches, worst winter ever in Boston. It made things more challenging, but everyone on site was great. I mean, we kind of knew, hey, we have an end date, we need to meet this date, so guys worked harder, they worked longer.
The most exciting moment and the most critical moment in the construction is when we lower the scaffolding and the weight of the great keystone and the flat vault goes into the 5 walls, really for the first time. We've got it instrumented for displacements in 25 different locations, and then we've got 9 scales underneath it taking load readings. So we're going to be doing real-time measurements of how the load is being transferred. So we're going to go ahead and start with the 4 middle ones.
1, 2, 3. Half inch.
As we lower the temporary supports and they come down, the load on the scales should come down. And the load on the scales will be going down because the weight of the stones will be going into arching. If we lower the supports and the reading on the scale doesn't change, that's bad.
1, 2, 3. 8. It's going down. 1, 2, 3. 8.
Wow. Yeah, baby. Great.
1,
Yeah, baby.
3.
So behind B-leg is a little part of my speech that I gave for Sean. So they engraved it onto the stone. So live long like he would, big hearts, big smiles, big service, all love. He was just a kid that just loved being a cop, He had a million friends. I don't know how he slept. He was always doing something, hanging out with somebody, He really lived life to its, fullest.
He was made to be a police officer, and I know his mother said he wanted to be a policeman from the time he was 7 years old, and it showed. It showed in everything he did. He got it.
It's a very open structure for something built out of such solid stone, and it's sort of supposed to be a gateway into campus. There's people milling around. They spend a lot of time in North Court. They like to be outside, and so we have these benches, and I think there will be trees, and it will hopefully become a place that people really enjoy sitting down and spending some time with their friends and with the community.
I hope the memorial will become one of the beloved elements on campus. Hopefully it can remain for us to remember Sean's service and the coming together of the community and our values.
Things are gonna be much better if we only will.
Megan, John, Rob, members of the project team and the permanent Collier Memorial, thank you so very much from the bottom of my heart and on behalf of every one of us in the community. I would also like to thank Dr. Erika Funkhauser and our students for honoring Sean with their beautiful poem, the words to which are available at the entrances to the tent. And all of today's speakers, Bill Cutter and the members of MIT's Chamber Chorus and Concert Choir, and our community for gathering to dedicate this extraordinary memorial with those who made it possible. I invite you now to join me in a moment of silence to remember Sean. Thank you. Please rise for the benediction of Rabbi Fisher and remain standing for the opening of the memorial, after which I invite you to join us for a community picnic and to experience the MIT Memorial to Officer Collier.
For everything, there's a season, a time for every activity under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to scatter stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to seek and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to cast away, a time to tear and a time to mend. Excerpt from Ecclesiastes chapter 3. During these past 2 years, we've run the gamut of these acts and these emotions. The attack at the marathon and the murder of Officer Collier shook us, shook Boston, shook Cambridge, shook MIT. We learned how vulnerable we are, so much more than we imagined. We learned about hate, baseless hatred that could take lives, including the life of one so devoted, so cheerful, and so full of care. And we also learned we are stronger than we ever imagined. We came together as a community. We stood strong. Heroes like Sean gave us reminders of compassion, dedication, and kindness. An example of how to be part of a community, how to build community, how to care for a community. And we have built and rebuilt out of these events, out of these memories. Oh God, continue to be with us as we build, and continue to let us know you are near. Oh God, let us live in peace. Help us. Teach all people of all nationalities, races, and faiths in all countries, in all cities here and all over the world, to believe that peace, that security, which often seems so far off, are in fact within our reach. Obstruct the plans of any plotting to do harm to another. Watch over us, God. Watch over this memorial. Watch over Sean Collier's family and friends. Watch over your world. Shelter us all with peace. Sean, your life was extinguished, but your light can never be extinguished. It shines on in all of us and illumines our ways. You are with us always. We will not forget you. As this memorial serves as a physical sign reminding us of you and of your values, may we all strive with all our might to live up to the example you have set. May we strive to face each day with eagerness, to value our communities and our friends, to try to see a friend in each new person we encounter. May we seek to guard others as you guarded us. May your memory be with us along all our paths and all our ways. Watch over us, God. Watch over Sean. Watch over your world. Shelter us all with peace, with love, now and always. And let us say, Amen.